Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the weirdest situations I can ever remember in all my years at THORNEWS. I am not a professional meteorologist. I'm just a guy who's letting you know that the GFS model has given a signal almost 10 runs in a row of a landfalling hurricane somewhere around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of May. So, I'm telling you this because, not to scare you, not to fearmonger, that my personal theory is that if I tell you guys that there is a chance a hurricane is coming in 2 weeks, it gives you a chance to watch, prepare, and make plans. That way, if a hurricane never shows up, nobody gets hurt. Now, there is a whole large slew of professional meteorologists who are making fun of the GFS, saying that it always does this, although I don't even remember doing it 10 times in a row. As you can see, that hurricane's almost a worst case scenario. Crosses over Florida and then just rides up the coast. And so while a lot of professional meteorologists continue to make fun of this thing, the danger in that I see is that if you tell people that it's a fantasy hurricane and that it has zero chance of developing, if it develops and then heads towards Florida, the very most people are going to have is 7 days to 5 days to even begin to think about it. And so if you tell people there's going to be no hurricane and then there's a hurricane, there's going to be chaos and people die. So I sure as heck prefer my strategy over professionals. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying this thing is going to be a hurricane and definitely do what it's showing us. I'm just saying that with 4 landfalling hurricanes last year, which I predicted 2 or more would happen before hurricane season, and then 4 nor'easters in a month, an exploding volcano that's going to last for years possibly in Hawaii, I see absolutely no reason to let our guards down. If you want to go conspiracy angle, the whole reason that there's like 5 or 6 different weather models and you never know which one is the right one, that's always really weird. And so I always get this weird sense that this is kind of like if there were a military-industrial complex in control of things, this is kind of them as they did with other presidents, basically saying either you give us what we want or this is what will happen. This is the only way I can see 10 days in or 5 days in for one model to say definitely it's going to rake across all of Florida and then just ride up the coast. And then all the other models to be like, no, there's no such thing. So I'm just saying at this point, you have to do all your own research. You have to make all your own decisions. You have to decide who to trust. And I'm just saying this whole situation is just bizarre. But another thing that I will interestingly note is that I don't have access to the European model. The most I can get it is on WinT up to the 19th. And so here Ryan Mawe from weather.us says that the European 12Z has a continuous moisture feed out of the Caribbean tropics into Florida and southeast U.S., a summer-like pattern. Remains to be seen how organized the area of low pressure becomes early next week over Florida, but a big rainmaker. So even if we don't get the winds of a hurricane and the punch of a hurricane, we still expect a ton of rain into Florida. And the craziest thing about this is if you notice at the very end right there, on the 19th, boom, a giant blob of moisture shows up right where the hurricane is supposed to develop. And so now let's go over here to the WinT models. We're going to put it to the 19th because this is the farthest it'll go. And so this is the European. And now the differences are And then this is the GFS. And so as you can see, our little tropical storm low pressure begins to develop here. And has all this, all this blue low pressure is pretty alarming anyways. And so this has a pretty steep ridge in the Atlantic and in the Pacific, whereas the European has a strong ridge here and a strong ridge here, but this has the low pressure going up farther. And so the differences between the two really aren't that big. The main thing here is the high pressure blocking here. And so I would say that considering this zone, considering that both are, they show room that something could develop and would have a path to go. Although if the European is right, this would send the hurricane more towards the Texas side as opposed to going up the East Coast. So like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy on YouTube, and YouTube is definitely buyer beware. I'm just presenting you with the data as I see it. But as we can see, the temperatures are going to be decently warm for development. I think 80 is, the super fuel. So, and then I would guess, although the GFS has it hotter, which would make more sense, I would guess the magma and volcano situation, it's like I try to explain to people, hey dude, an exploding volcano in Hawaii is what I call a pressure and weather variable. This giant coronal hole, which spins around once every 28 days, and we see major earthquakes happen when it's earth facing, that is another major earth weather and pressure variable. So it's amazing to me, after all the damage and destruction we are seeing, how many people are like, oh no, it's, like, stand down, don't worry, nothing to worry about, everything's fine, everything's going great. And so I'm just here giving you guys the data. That's what I do. But I would definitely expect weird, wild weather. I don't know. It reminds me, and I don't like to get into politics because I don't believe in either political party, but watching the professional meteorologists say there's a 0% chance of this thing developing when it's showing a Category 2 hurricane all the way up, go up the whole coast, seems to be extremely irresponsible in ways I can't even express. One of those dudes was bragging about how he just got back from his 2 or 3 week vacation in Europe. And I guess, like I said, you get paid well if you tell the people what they want you to tell them. Me, I have to depend upon your donations, because THORNEWS is a publicly funded YouTube channel. So if I'm going to survive, you guys got to contribute and donate. But though I get it, most of everybody's broke. And the people who have money aren't spending time worrying about future hurricanes or solar flares or volcanoes or hyperinflation or military-industrial complex. They're just enjoying life. I guess who can blame them? Anywho, this is your update. We have a new model update coming out in about an hour, and I do everything I can at THORNEWS to maintain a super high integrity level. I tell you what I think, what I believe, my crazy ideas, but I always let it, what you believe and what you decide is up to you. This is just supposed to be part of your own due diligence. So, I don't know, man, I try to do the best job possible. And I think I've done an amazing job. Anywho, so everybody stay cool. This is your update. Pretty sure I'll be talking to you guys in the near future. But I don't know if this thing is real, and this is really a hurricane. I think that which we believe and know as old school meteorology is pretty much gone. You know? Anyway. Now stay cool.